we're in like what we classify as a heat wave.
It's probably
Genuinely.
the same temperature right now, 12 degrees Celsius. That's what it is here. It's probably the same for you guys.
I think it's
a heat wave.
17. Yeah, so that's our limit. Anyway, thanks for coming on. Sure, look, I'll talk to you.
We're coming into winter. What's happening now? There we go.
Oh yeah, you went. There's a bit of a lag there. Okay. So we have a few things to cover. So since we spoke last, actually, the last time you were on the show, so we've obviously talked in between a good bit, but the last time you were on the show, am I right in saying that you gave out to me for not asking you about coffee because you had a story that you wanted to tell, but then I didn't ask, so you couldn't tell it?
Yeah, always like to be a little bit prepared before I come on the podcast. So I listened. This is before, obviously, we've talked a lot since that podcast. But before that, I hadn't, and I listened to your podcast a lot, and I was like, oh, okay, he's going to ask me a coffee story about, so I better have a story lined up about my best coffee experience or whatever. And so I had a good one lined up, and I was ready to go, and you never asked me, and it's never sat right with me. So that's why.
Well, the floor is yours.
This will be a very short episode. It's just 5 minutes. I'm just going to tell my coffee story, and then we can go.
Well, go ahead. I'm ready. Impress me.
Okay. It's been built up so much now, it probably won't be that good. But in 2014 at the CrossFit Games, I was downstairs so it was held in California that year, and we're at the Marriott, which is where all the athletes stayed. And I went downstairs to a bar to get a coffee. This would have been it might have been the day before registration, the day before competition, something like that. And I went up and I ordered my coffee, and the guy beside me ordered this like jumbo, tall, like the biggest cup you could get, and asked for it it was like a cappuccino with 4 sugars or something like that. And I just like looked to my side and I was like, what the heck? That's like, because that to me is sacrilegious. Like in terms of coffee, like it's, this big jumbo sweet thing with as much sugar as possible. And I couldn't believe it. And then the person that ordered that coffee was one Matthew Fraser. And so that was my first introduction to meeting Matt Fraser, because that was the first year he competed at the games. And that was the coffee of choice. And I remember turning to my side and like, what the heck? And what are you ordering? And that's disgusting. And anyway, so his coffee connoisseurship has come a long way in the times.
There's obviously a correlation between his improving taste in coffee, or his snobbiness towards coffee, and his fitness levels have also.
I mean, he was still pretty fit. He kicked my ass that year. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's I just thought that was an interesting story. I thought maybe it's a CrossFit related coffee story.
I'd be fairly confident that's a story nobody's heard about Fraser as well. I'd be relatively confident anyway.
Well, yeah, the only person that's heard is probably my wife and a small group of people that are sick of me telling it. So
yeah, your wife. I can imagine your wife. Not the fucking Fraser story. No one else was even there, Brandon. No one can vouch for you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I made it up. It didn't even happen.
Yeah, you didn't even qualify that year. You were just you were in a Marriott in Sydney.
It was so long ago. I get the years muddled up. It could have been 2014. It could have been 1986. I don't know.
Yeah. But if it was 86, then CJ would have been there as well. So we can ask.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot's changed since the last time you were on. So the last time you were on, was before Torian, like last year.
Yeah.
And since then, so you qualified for Torian this year but couldn't do it because you had, I can't remember the name of the thing. It's like Buds but for firemen, right?
Yeah, like recruit course, I guess you call it. So so I qualified for Torian this year. Would have loved to have competed, but yeah, I'm in the middle of becoming a firefighter. So we call it recruits. It's a 16-week course. basically a bit of a crash course on everything you need to know as a firefighter. And then you sort of, obviously there's a lot more to learn on the job, but it's a very intensive 16-week process. And it's Monday to Friday, long hours. And I wasn't able to get the time off to compete at Tour. And I only would have missed the first event because the second event for individuals is late in the evening on the Friday night. But obviously missing one event means you have to miss the whole weekend. So, but on the other side of that, I got to help Mike and Jono, who run touring, organise the workouts this year for the individual athletes, and that was a real privilege and a real cool experience. I love programming and I love testing and I love the art form behind it. So being able to step into that role a little bit more this year was really, really cool.
Are your gym walls made of lead? Why is your internet so shit?
I have no idea. I can turn. Do you want me to I can switch over to it's. Hopefully that's better.
Yeah, well, it probably can be
Fingers
worse.
crossed.
So,
did you get any of it? What we talked about, or do we have to start the whole podcast again?
No, I got the gist of it. No, I got the Fraser story is perfect, and then the large section of the Torian story is perfect. There's only a tiny bit left out. Okay, so I gone off earbuds there, am I? Have you got headphones in? No.
No, I don't have headphones.
Okay,
My 3-year-old lost one of them, so I'll just have to do my best. I apologize.
No, I need to double check that you've got echo cancellations on. Yeah, okay, right. Fucking hell, this is a shit show.
We can start again if you want. I'm happy. We can roll the whole thing again.
No, I liked the start. We'll keep it. We'll probably keep this as well. If this is if this is as bad as it gets, we've done well. Okay, so when you had your own programming company and you were programming, I think you were kind of programming for Harriet Roberts, and then you were programming for just, I suppose, what would you call them, gym or Xers, I suppose, not really, maybe aspiring athletes, but no, there was no, say, big names on your roster really. And then but I'm still assuming when you decided, because you folded that and then said did you fold that because you thought you were going to go back and do firefighting, or did you fold that and then there was a gap and you thought, how am I going to fill this gap?
Yeah, so last time we spoke, it would have been running. I ran programming through Swan, and we sort of operated in a few different spaces. We had some athletes on board. Again, no let's say multi-year games athletes, but some really talented athletes down here that were sort of pushing the envelope and pushing towards game selection. Helping out Harriet Roberts. Jamie Goodwin was another one, she's been a multi-year teams games athlete. So I got to work with her, which was really, really cool. And a few other athletes who were sort of pushing into that space. And then a few athletes who were, let's say, on the cusp of making the Torian Pro or making semi-finals, but have just missed out. And so I really enjoy working in that space where you can sort of get people to the next step, regardless of what that step is, if it's getting to semi-finals or getting to the game. So it was really cool to work in that space. We also offered just sort of set programming for people that were probably, higher end, top 10%, would get through the Open to do quarterfinals and potentially get into semi-finals. We had a program for that. And then we did affiliate programming and things like that as well. So had a few things on the go with Swan Strong and really enjoyed it. Always have enjoyed programming, but it got to a point where I don't know what it's like in other countries, but for firefighters in Australia and especially in Queensland where I am, that's all I can speak for because that's the only place I've tried. But it's a very, very competitive job. It's really, really hard to get into. and it requires a lot of focus and a lot of time and attention for many months on end, because the hiring process starts. So, for example, I applied in January of last year, and I found out I got hired basically the same time next year, the following year. It's basically 12 months of just continuous tests and steps to get through. And on top of that, I was
Why is it so hard to get in?
it's a really popular career, more so than anything. I believe when I applied that year, there was 22,000 applicants, of which they hired less than 100. So,
But
you know,
why? Like, what makes it? Is it really well paid? Is it really good benefits? Is it just the
it's
excitement of it? You
yeah.
think?
So I would say, I mean, the reasons I applied for the job, it's always kind of been the place I wanted to go post CrossFit. Basically, it's obviously I'm attracted to the fact that I get to help people and help my community. But there are some great benefits to it. You work 2 days, followed by here we do 2 day shifts, followed by 2 night shifts, and you get 4 days off. Every 4 months, you get a month off. It's something like that. Like you're working like 35% of the year. It's crazy, and you get paid
Sounds
like
like teaching.
yeah. It's like so it's for me the things that really stuck out about the job were I get to help my community. I get to apply my fitness and everything that I've built up in my CrossFit career in a different setting, and one that's really meaningful. I get a lot of time off, which means I can continue to train and continue to compete if I want to, and obviously get a lot more time to spend at home with my family. So, there's going to be things like I'll be working the odd Christmas Day and things like that, but I'll also get to pick my son up from school and drop him off and go and watch school sport and all those sorts of things, which a lot of dads don't get to do because, the hours that they're working demand that they miss that stuff. So those lifestyle aspects of the job really stuck out for me as well. I think it's the same for a lot of people. So, and obviously it's an exciting career, and, I think every boy wants to grow up and be a firefighter. So it's that those are the reasons it stuck out for me, and I think it's the reasons it sticks out for a lot of people. And as a result, it's a very popular profession over here, and Queensland Fire and Emergency Services, who I'm employed by, hold an extremely high standard. So the testing procedure is very in depth, and so doing that, trying to still compete, have some family time and all that sort of stuff. The programming I was always going to come back to, but it just wasn't the right time, and I needed to ensure that if I was going to go through the procedure of applying, I didn't want to do it half-assed. Which that's the way I go about everything. Is I'm either all in with it, or I'm not going to do it. So it was more of a hiatus than anything. And yeah, we're here now, and I'm on the other side of it, and we've obviously brought some programming back in a slightly different form.
What was your wife's reaction, or like say family or friends' reaction when? Because obviously, like, okay, yeah, like everyone. I mean, I like heartily disagree that every boy wants to grow up to be a firefighter. I think until they realize like you can die and stuff, I'd say yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. And then once they go past like 8 years old, they start thinking, oh, maybe there's safer jobs. But like, were
And
your
when I say
family?
every boy wants to be a firefighter, I'm talking about every 3 to 4 year old that watches
Yeah,
firemen
exactly.
saying,
Yeah,
I want to
exactly.
work. I want to work in Pontypandy.
What was their reaction then when you said that you want? Because obviously the job you're doing, although I'm assuming time consuming, and training is time consuming, and it's hard on the body and stuff. But like the likelihood of dying from doing Fran is fairly low.
There we go.
Whereas like obviously the chances are like vastly increased when you're in literally the line of fire, I suppose. What was their
Yeah.
reaction when you said that you were doing this?
Um, it's all been pretty positive so far. I think to be honest, we haven't had too many of those conversations. It is obviously
My wife
there is
doesn't
a
know
very
yet.
yeah, there's a very real sense of danger, real chance of danger with the job. That's just the nature of it. But I mean, I always take the approach of, you know, well, for at least over here, for example, 70% of the job of firefighters over here is road crash rescue. Like we're cutting people out of cars and rescuing people out of cars, and that's a much larger portion of the job than actually running into burning buildings, and
Yeah.
and so when you look at that and you're like, all right, well, we respond to so many of these accidents. Like accidents happen to people every day on the roads, just driving to any job. So the danger's everywhere, and that's kind of whether it's a glass half full or glass half empty approach, I'm not too sure. But what
It's
we
it's
need to
a it's a
rely,
sociopath's approach, I think, isn't that how
yeah.
you classify it? Yeah, yeah. But like, have
But
you when you're doing your training, are you obviously? I assume you're prepped for like this is how what do you call that thing? Jaws of life, isn't it? This is how this works, and this is how your I don't know chainsaw works or whatever, and then this is
yeah,
what to do if there's a fire. But are you prepped for like here's something that you like, like psychologically, here's how you might
mm,
react if you see someone impaled on a tree, or if you see, like, are you
yeah,
prepared in that kind of way?
they do the very best they can in terms of it's the instructorship or the education that we get is very raw, and they're very frank with the fact that you're going to see things that most people don't see, and you have to be prepared for that. And obviously, that's part of the hiring process as well. It's a big part of the hiring of firefighters is the psychological testing to ensure that they've got the right people for the job. And people slip through the cracks that it may not be for them. We had one recruit drop off our course because it just wasn't the career he thought he would. He didn't think it would suit him. So, but a lot of it, I think, is just experience. I'm pretty honest and open with the fact that I don't really know how I'm going to react to the first time I see, certain things. But luckily, at least here, and with the organisation I'm employed by, they take that part of the role and that part of the job very seriously. They've got a fire and emergency services support network, which basically has all of the psychological help that firefighters may need to get through incidents. We've heard a lot of stories from firefighters that have seen, multiple deaths and dead bodies and all sorts of stuff, and that's just going to be part of the job, unfortunately. And they said, that they're fine for 20 years, and then one day it just hits them, and they enter a rut, and they can't get out of it. And it can be something from years ago that was just small that they never thought would affect them, and for some reason it just keeps digging. So that's a part of the job for sure, and a very it's going to be one that I think, I don't know how I'm going to react to it. I don't think anyone knows how they would. I think everyone processes that stuff differently. But for me, that's overridden by the fact that I have a great opportunity to also, have us, I love having an impact on people's lives as a CrossFit coach, as an athlete doing charity work. I get a real kick out of helping people. And so, whilst I'm going to see some stuff that's not really, the nicest stuff to see, I am also hopefully going to have the opportunity to, potentially save someone's life, or I'm going to have the opportunity to, we're going to encounter people on the worst day of their life when their house is burning down, or they've been in a car accident, or they've lost a loved one. And, I might have a real chance to intervene with that person and save their life, or at least improve the situation. So,
Yeah, like I'm sure if you're standing at someone's house and it's burning down, you say, "Hey, did I ever tell you in the Marriott in 2000?"
yeah, like
Just
it's,
watching the flames envelop their
I've got
home,
all
and
these
they're like, "What?"
stories. Hey, do you know who Matt Fraser is? And they say no. I was like, well, just
You
quickly
take
read
out
his
your phone.
Wikipedia page. He's really famous, and then let me tell you about how I met him one time.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's
But
cool.
yeah, so it's
I like the vibe you're going for there. Yeah. So how long was training then after you got accepted? So you got accepted last January. So
yeah, so it's
5 months ago.
yeah, I got accepted. So, like I said, the application process from the time of application to the time of hiring, it's roughly a 12-month period.
How engaged are you during that 12 months? Like, say, is it like
It's
once a month, once every 6 weeks,
Yeah,
once
about once a month
quarterly?
there was something happening.
Okay.
So pretty much from application through till, let's say, about September, there was something happening every single month. Physical tests, cognitive online testing to test intelligence, I guess, problem solving ability, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
There was an interview not long after
Did you
Florian.
compensate for that with your fitness? Is it?
Yeah, basically, I was like, look,
They're like, oh,
dumb
he's
as
really
shit,
thick, but he's
but
so fast.
really, yeah, really fit. And like, you want to be a little bit dumb because you got to run into a
Yeah.
fire. You don't want to be
He
too
won't. He
smart.
won't need a ladder. I mean,
No,
that's good.
yeah, I just jump and muscle up, and yeah. So I just showed him what I could do. No, um, but yeah, probably up until September it was every month, and then there was kind of like a 3 month period where you're kind of hanging on the edge of your seat, wondering if you got one of
Yeah,
those
like is
covered
it so?
spots.
Say during that period, did they tell you? Say last January, did they say? I assume most people know going in from hearsay and knowing people that have done it that it is just common knowledge that it takes a while or whatever. But like, do they say to you, okay, we'll probably do something like once every 4 to 6 weeks for the next while, and then say during that September period that you're talking about, do they say like, okay, things are going to dry up a little bit, but don't panic, like or do they say if you hear from us telling you you're not no longer being considered, that's the only time you need to panic? Or because I fucking hate waiting
Same.
with an unknown. I hate that.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of that actually. It's the process, like I said, every month we had sort of something, then you kind of got like that little waiting period at the end is you're sort of frequently getting something during the whole process, but the conversation is pretty limited the whole way through. Like you kind of you apply and then you just sort of twiddle your thumbs and you wait for the next step, and then you do that and then you twiddle your thumbs and you wait for the next step, and it was kind of like that the whole way through. So
Mm,
it was a tough. It was a tough year. Like you had to be pretty patient. It sort of just sits in the back of your head the whole time, like wondering. Like I was able to go off and do other things, of course, but it was just always there. You're like, oh, I wonder if this is going to pan out, and what am I going to do if this doesn't? If I don't get through, am I going to apply next year? Or it's some people. There's a guy on my course that applied for 7 years, so he went through
jeez.
that for 7 years, and I asked him, most weeks I'm like, how did you do that? Like, because 1 year was bad enough. Like, I'm lucky I got through my first year. I don't know how people do it for multiple years on end, but like I said, it's a very rewarding career, and a lot of people want to do it. So, people jump through the hoops.
Yeah. He always just view each of those years as a test. He's like, oh, this is a test. They're testing me.
Yeah.
They want to see how badly I want it.
And they're like, oh,
Um,
he's back again. Fuck, just give him a job.
yeah. Um, God, he must hate you then. First year applying, and then you go through. He was like, "How do you do that every year?" You just shut the fuck up. Like, I know this
Yeah.
is your first. Um, so when like, what's the training like then? The training started in January this year, did it roughly?
So the training started in. I found out sort of, yeah, it would have been late December actually, just before January. It was right around Christmas when I found out
Yeah.
I got the job, and then the training for me started in March.
Oh, okay.
So I had to wait until then to start training officially. And then it's most days they're very long days. It's about an hour away, the training facility. It's at the Port of Brisbane, which is it's sort of like they've got this massive open space where basically they can light fires and it blows shit up and it doesn't impact the rest of society. So they've got this place in the middle of sort of nowhere where they can do all that legally. And yeah, basically we get there at about 6:30 in the morning. It's about an hour drive, so I'm leaving home at 5:30. And then we leave there at about 5 p.m. at night, 5:30 sometimes, and so I'm back home sort of 6:30 at night. So they're long days. Obviously, there's some theory in there, obviously, to learn all about the job, the equipment we use, the kind of things we're going to encounter, but a lot of practical, obviously, as well. So some days we're donning breathing apparatus, and we're going into buildings and climbing over ladders and taking hoses with us and crawling all over the floor and searching for casualties and pulling them out, and we're doing that for 8, 9, 10 hours. So they're pretty rigorous days. I would like to think that I'm the fittest person there, and I'm pretty shattered by the end of the day. So I can't imagine what some of the other guys are feeling like, because I know my physical fitness probably holds up a lot better than theirs.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm not feeling like I'm being shortchanged of training at the moment. Put it that way.
Yeah. And do you train every day before you go, or do you know like, oh, Thursday is the day that we're doing all that physical stuff, so I just won't train Thursday morning?
No, I'm training every day at the moment. I get up at 3:40 in the morning, and I get myself a coffee, and I wander down here to the gym. Yeah, so I train every day, but I just go off feel. So I don't have sometimes I'll have a rough plan of what I might want to do. But most days I'll come down in the morning and sort of check in with myself, how I'm feeling physically and mentally, and then I'll come up with a workout that I think is suitable for the day. For example, in the next 3 weeks, we're doing a lot of just real firefighting scenarios. So where they literally light shit on fire and you go inside and you're in there for, you might do 3 or 4 of those a day, and they're extremely taxing because they drain your body of all your fluids because of how hot it is. And so I know for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'm probably going to have to dial the intensity back just a little bit to ensure that I'm not cooking myself literally on but like overdoing myself and overextending myself. I'm going to be going through some physiological stuff that I haven't gone through before, and my body's probably going to react to that obviously in a way that requires some adaptation. So my training is probably going to have to take a little bit of a hit. I might not feel quite as chipper as I usually do. So those are the things that I just sort of have to take into consideration. And then obviously the other thing is making sure that I'm not throwing barbells. I'm not doing heavy grace at 4 o'clock in the morning in my garage. I'm making sure I'm choosing things that are not going to wake up my family and the neighbors.
Yeah, I get up at 3:40 in the morning. I don't
Yeah,
think.
or the middle of the night, however way you want to look at
Yeah,
it.
I'm not sure the grammar and like truth in that sentence just doesn't work to get like I don't know. It just I don't know. Probably easier just not to go to bed. What time do you go to bed at then? Do you just put
Uh,
Nate down and just fall asleep immediately?
Yeah, that's kind of how it's been going most nights. I've been getting home, and then we have dinner. Sometimes we've got it's like I said, it's a very intensive sort of program. Sometimes we've got study to do, so I come home. I'm like, sorry, honey, like I got work to do, and I'm studying something, and I'm doing that till 9, 10 o'clock at night, and then I'm crashing in bed. But on the nights that I don't have study, I'm putting Nate to bed. I usually, we'll do the whole dinner, bath time, bedtime ritual, and then we'll read a couple of stories, a couple of books, and I'm like fighting to keep my eyes open as I read uh, Peppa Pig or something like that. And then usually I'm like to my wife, "Yeah, I'll be out in 5 minutes, honey," and then she knows I'm never coming out, and that's where I sleep for the night. So usually, and
Yeah,
I'm usually asleep before he is. There's been a couple of nights where I think I've woken up in his bed and he's been in my bed or our bed with Kelly because he's probably not fallen asleep and I have, and
yeah.
he's gone
Or he's
gone
short
outside
short
again.
of space. He's like there's a gorilla taking up half my bed. How
Yeah,
has he
so it's
reacted?
tough.
Because obviously that's a big change. It's a big change at home because like up until say March, then you were basically at home all the time, or you could be at home as much as you wanted, whenever you wanted,
Yep.
and I'm sure
Yeah.
he got used to that. And then that's you know about a quarter of his life where you were just at home all the time whenever you wanted. So how has he reacted to that change?
Yeah, I think there was a big adjustment for us as a family because for at least for the entire time Nate has been alive, which he'll be 3 in a month. I was the stay-at-home parent. I was the stay-at-home dad,
Yeah,
which was an unbelievable experience. One I'm so glad and privileged that I got to have because a lot of dads don't get that. I think a lot of it seems to be we're on a trend now where a lot of parents are realizing the importance of family time. For years it was all about career and building and climbing the corporate ladder, or doing whatever you had to do to support your family. But I feel like we're kind of seeing a trend now where people are starting to really prioritize being at home and family time. And so more and more dads probably are getting more time at home with their young kids, but certainly in my experience, it was rare to hear of many other stay-at-home dads. It was full time; that was their job. So it was awesome to do. My wife was a school principal in that time, and she's incredible at what she does. But yeah, we swapped roles, so the whole family dynamics changed. My wife stepped away from her role as a school principal to get some quality time at home with Nate. We knew I was moving into the fire service. So we kind of swapped, and I'm now out working, and my wife's staying at home with Nate. So he still has a parent at home, which is awesome. But definitely it was a big change because obviously mum and dad do things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But I think we've sort of settled into things now, and he runs out. He runs out when I get home every night, and is excited to see me, and that's a really good feeling. But yeah, it was
Do you ever
definitely.
feel guilty?
Oh, every day. Yeah, every day. I feel guilty for leaving the house every morning for sure.
It's so
But
like it's funny because it's so irrational, but it's
yeah,
you're helpless against it. I think like it doesn't make
yeah,
any
it's.
sense. And if you
But you
actually
know
say
what?
it out
It's.
loud to
I will
someone,
add.
it's like you feel like a fucking idiot, but you still can't stop yourself from feeling it.
Yeah, and I'm lucky that I'm so busy when I'm out of the house that the the it's more driving to work and driving home from work when I was like decompressed. I'm like, oh, I really miss him, or I can't wait to get home and see him, or just leaving the house. Like, I always go in and give my wife and him a little kiss goodbye before I leave in the morning. Try not to wake him up at the same time, and like, I love you, and she's like, fuck off.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'd say she's more concerned that you'll wake him up, to be honest. Like you're
yeah,
like
oh,
being really
definitely.
quiet in the house and you slam the door when you're leaving, and she's just like, "Fuck's sake."
Yeah, definitely. But it is irrational. But at the same time, what I've realized since I've been away is like just really cherishing making the most of the time I do have at home, and like weekends are sacred for us at the moment. Trying to really emphasize. Yeah, and probably as a stay-at-home dad, like I think everyone gets a little. You cannot go through life as a parent with a young child and at least in my experience, there are moments where you're going to get frustrated and tired, and moments where it's going to be challenging, and moments where you're just like, "Fuck me, can I just have a minute to myself?" And the cool thing now is like the amount of time I have is limited, so the time that we do have together is quality time. It's fun time. It's enjoyable. I cherish it a lot. So as much as I really appreciate it and cherish the time of being a stay-at-home dad and having all that time together, having less time has made me even more appreciative and focused on what I'm doing when I'm with him. So that's a blessing too, which is good.
Yeah, that's good. Um, okay, so dad hours then. Like I feel like you take it to an extreme, like getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. But um,
It's
so
I gotta you gotta it's kind of like Liver King, the Liver King. You seen that guy? Surely he doesn't eat that many raw organs, and he's just like, I feel like I got to take it to that extreme level. So I'm not really prepared to eat, testicles. So what can I do? I can get up
again,
early. That's my thing. I'll get up really early in the morning. Uh,
yeah. So this like okay, I don't know if this was always your plan. Um, but from my view of it, it was you and Adam Klink. You were training with Ben Smith. You were kind of doing his programming. You were working with
yeah.
him, and then
So yep,
you were doing some workouts. And Adam Klink was also doing workouts, and you were both doing them at like stupid o'clock, like either end of the spectrum. It was just stupid
yep,
o'clock.
yep.
Um, and then you started using the hashtag dad hours. Is that where it all started?
Yeah, pretty much. That's in a nutshell. That's probably a great way to start it off. So I was obviously going through. This is sort of roughly around the same timeline as um, when I was applying to become a firefighter. In that time, I was following Ben Smith's program. I didn't want. I've had periods where been with coaches, periods where I've programmed for myself, and I just tried out a few. I did with everything that was going on. I kind of didn't want to have to think about programming, and so I had done a couple of Ben's workouts and always had the utmost respect for Ben as a competitor and a programmer. One of the most knowledgeable, as well as being one of the nicest human beings on the planet, one of the most knowledgeable people in the space when it comes to programming and training for the sport. Like he's got. There aren't too many people with the experience Ben has. Obviously, has won the world title before in 2015. Was the fittest man on earth, but amazing brain for just for programming. And myself and him have very similar beliefs and views around programming and how someone should train. So for me, it just made sense to follow Ben's program. I sort of reached out to him. I signed up. I didn't even tell him. I was like, we've known each other, we've competed against each other, and I just signed up. And then I shot him a message, said, "Hey man, I've been doing it for about a month." And he's like, "Oh, I thought that was you, and wasn't sure." And I wasn't really posting any results or anything in the group. I was just sort of just following along, and so that's kind of how that started. And then obviously Adam Klink has been involved with Ben for a long time with Krypton. And then, I think it's sort of, I can't even remember exactly when, but obviously with the demands of trying to be a high level athlete and be a full-time stay-at-home dad, I was training at 4 o'clock in the morning, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and, lunchtime or whatever. And so I just started and often I would have to make little adjustments to the program because I've got 20 minutes. I can't do all this today. What's the best bang for my buck? What am I going to be able to do I've got, he's down for a nap. I don't know when he's going to wake up. What do I need to do to get the most out of myself right now? And then I just started, putting up little snippets of me training and writing dad hours, just doing my dad hours. This is the time I've got. And that's it's just started as a little hashtag type thing. And then Adam was starting to do a little bit of it as well. And we were sort of bouncing things back and forth just as a bit of a joke. And, so that's on one side of thing. In terms of how dad hours, the program came about, it's kind of where I always wanted my original programming to sort of be and to go. It was kind of, I saw that there was a gap there that needed to be filled. To be honest with you, it was about filling a need for myself. I knew that my time was limited and becoming more limited. And if I was to become a firefighter, it was going to become even more limited again. And then I looked out there and I'm sort of looking at the programs for parents and all that sort of stuff. And what I saw was that there was either you could go and do one of the CrossFit competitors programs, and take your pick, Mayhem Athlete, HWPO, Comp Train, etc. And they're all phenomenal programs, great programs by great people. And, a lot of them had their 60-minute options where you do, I'm a parent and I'm busy and I want to train hard, but I've only got 60 minutes. All right, great. Sign up for our 60-minute program. Again, this isn't knocking those programs because they're all really good. But in my experience, when I've looked at this, let's say the samples for those programs, I read it and I'm like, that's going to take fucking 3 hours. That's not, in my experience, it's not really a 60-minute program. I've got to warm up and I've got to recover and I've got to, do this and that and whatever. And, I'm training in my garage and I don't have all of the equipment that is needed for this program. So there was that. Or on the other end of the spectrum, there was come and train with me and do sit-ups and jumping jacks in your living room. And that was the two ends of the spectrum for someone like me who was time poor, but wanted to train hard. And I felt like there was this gap in the middle where there was, I think there's a lot of people like me, or at least I felt like, and it's proving true, there's a lot of people like me that maybe were competitive athletes once upon a time, or just, have been doing CrossFit for a long time, and they really enjoy the challenge of a CrossFit program. They love the high skill elements. They love the heavy lifting. They love obviously the really hard metcons, but they don't have 4 hours a day to train anymore. Maybe they only have half an hour. Maybe they only have 60 minutes, but they still want to get a bit of a taste of all of that. And for me, that's exactly what I wanted. I thought, what sort of program do I want to be following 10 years from now? Do I still want to be doing muscle ups? Do I still want to be, doing some heavy barbell stuff? And the answer is yes. I still want to be doing that stuff, but maybe not quite to the degree I was at, and certainly not to the volume or the amount of time. But I still want to keep doing that stuff. I still want to keep training hard. So there was this big gap in the middle where I felt we were missing a program that was giving those people what they wanted, while still being very conscious of the fact that this isn't the number one priority in these people's lives or in my life. And I've only got 20 to 30 minutes. So what does that look like? And that's kind of that's why Dad Hours was born, and sort of what our MO has become. It's serving those people in the community, and it turns out there's a lot of people just like me that were after something like that.
Has it surprised you, like, how much it's taken off? Because I know, like, you told me before about, like, oh, if I have, like, say, this many people by summer, I'd be happy. And you're like way past where you thought you would be. Was that like, do you think you're underselling yourself, or do you think that you've like just overreached because of circumstance and stuff?
Um, I would like to think I'm underselling myself. You know what? Yeah, it certainly has taken me by surprise. Like I said to you, I felt this whole thing was created because I felt like one, I needed the program for myself. That's why I wrote it originally. I needed something where I could come down here in the morning and I could get a really good workout in that was challenging, but fit my lifestyle. I wanted a program that when I became a firefighter, I could take to the station and I could do it. And I had options there. Let's say I only had a pair of dumbbells and a skipping rope or something like that. I had options for that, and I could keep following the program. So, it was a selfish endeavor in many ways because I needed something that was going to satisfy my needs. But like I said, I think it's just I found this. I've obviously found this large group of people that have very similar needs to myself, or are discovering that they're moving. The whole reason it's called Dad Hours, obviously outside of the hashtag, which was kind of how it was born, was because like people, you would know yourself. One day you're not a parent, and then your child is born, and then you are a parent, and then all of a sudden you find that you just 22 out of the 24 hours of the day somehow disappear. Like there's just life becomes so much busier, and it's a lot of it's probably because your focus really tunnels in on your child, and they become the priority, and everything around it becomes less important. And on top of that, things just take time. Like getting out of the house to go and get a coffee, which took 5 minutes, now takes 2 hours. So like, all of that stuff together, I think a lot of people have, I know in the local sort of CrossFit community here, all the people that I've grown up with the last 10 to 12 years and have competed with and have, known for that period of time, we're all becoming parents now. We're all moving on to that next stage of life. We're all entering our 30s, and some people their 40s, and they're having kids or multiple kids, and we're all discovering that we simply do not have 4 hours a day or 6 hours a day to train, or the energy or the desire to do it anymore. But we still have a desire to hang on to some of that. So yeah, I think the
But it's
reason it.
like, it's funny though, because like, say we had Sloan like Christmas before the lockdown, and the first, like, whatever, 2 months, January, February, that she was around, like, my job at that stage was basically to make things as palatable and as easy to navigate for Orla as possible, because like I didn't have a lot of a role. Like, Sloan was breastfed, so I mean, what was I going to do there? So my job was like making breakfast, making dinner, like tidying, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
um so I still had a lot of free time, and I still had the ability where I could be like, oh, I'll go to the gym, like, and that's fine. Like, I used to, at the start, like before Sloan arrived, we used to go to the gym, like the class be at 5:30, and we live like 5 minutes from the gym, and at like 4:45 we'd be like, oh, I better go, I suppose. Like, it's just
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
get the social stuff and everything. And then after Sloan was born, it was like the class is at 5:30, and it was like 28 minutes past, and it was like, shit, I better go, I'm going to be late.
Yeah.
And that was an adjustment. And then like lockdown hit, and we were training at home and stuff, and like I think that gave us a false sense of like, this is fine, like, this is sure, Jesus, we have so much time, like, sure, well, like,
Mhm.
what? But like, neither of us were working. Like, Orla was on maternity leave, so she wasn't working at all. Well, like, obviously she was parenting. I started paternity leave, and then basically got 6 months of it because we just never went back to school.
Yeah.
So I was at home all the time, and then in September we went back to work. Orla went back, and I went back. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, it can't, like, how did I think this was going to work? Like, how did
Yep.
I just got lulled into this false sense of like, this is totally fine.
Yep.
Then the gyms were kind of open and closed and stuff here. But once the gyms went back properly, I realized how fucked I was. Like, that's the
Yep.
point where I started thinking, okay, I need to get a bike or something for the house. I need to start building up some equipment. So like other people were building up equipment during lockdown to be like, well, if the gym's never open again, I'm going to be fine. I was building up equipment to be like, even if the gym's open again, I'm fucked. So I need to like
Yeah.
source some stuff for
Like
home. Um, and then Bodie came, and it was like, how the fuck did I think I was busy? Like up until like, I
well,
was
that's the
like,
thing.
first of
Man.
all,
Like
I
I've
was
only
like,
got one. You've got
what did
two.
I
The
do
two would
with
have.
all of my time before
Yep.
Sloan was born? Like, how did I
Yep.
fill my day? Then I was like, how did I think I was busy when Sloan was here? And now I have her and him, and she's at that point, like, we're toilet training and stuff, and there's all that kind of stuff going on. But like,
Yep.
now I think I'm at the position, or I'm in the position, and I don't know how long it's going to last. I talked about this when I had Darren Ellis on last week as well, but it's kind of like, I feel like it'll come full circle eventually where I'll have more time, you know, when they're like in primary school and that kind of stuff, and they're just
When
easier
they're
managed.
18, when they've grown up, they're moving
When they've
out.
got kids of their own.
Then
Um,
we can go for the CrossFit Games. Then we
yeah,
can. That's when you shoot for it.
the 65s, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I kind of think like now I've just accepted that my relationship with my, say, like bricks and mortar gym is once a week. If everything's going to plan, I'll get in once a week, because if I go more than that, I don't enjoy it because I feel too guilty and I feel
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm missing out on something. Plus I'm
Yeah.
doing this as well, which takes up evenings and stuff, like
Okay.
after the kids are gone to bed.
Sure.
um but like, I've just accepted like, okay, once a week is good and it's maintainable, and I'm not going to overreach, and I'm not going to, it's not, no argument is going to come from it, either from me or from anyone else. It's just maintainable. um so when you started this, when you started dad hours, I was like, I remember originally being like, oh, I'm not fucking getting up at that time in the morning. um but then when we
Yeah,
went
you have
back,
to. You can only do it at 4 a.m. That's the only
yeah,
time.
yeah, the
It's
class, the programming disappears at 5 a.m.
yeah, that's right.
Um, no, but I was like, okay, well, that's like fucking ridiculous. I'm not getting up at that time anyway. And then I started thinking about it like, I wonder what time I would have to get up at
Hmm.
so that it didn't impact. Because, like, obviously, if I want to record an interview at 8 in the evening, which is what I try to do, like now, um, and if I want to give Orla opportunity so she can train, the only time for me to train is in the morning, because I know if I do it at night, I'll just end up being like, I literally have no motivation. Whereas if I get up in the morning, just get up and go, I can do it.
Hmm.
Um, so I was like, okay, if I get up at 6, if I'm downstairs at 6 and the kids get up at 7, and like the wheels, the wheels are in motion at 7 o'clock, that's fine. Um, but like you say, I was looking at other programs. And it was like, again, I'm not knocking anyone. Like you say, they're all great. They're all fantastic what they do. Mayhem have like 400 athletes going to the games this year, probably. Like, same proven,
Yeah, and I
same,
want to
like,
make that, I want to make that abundantly clear. Like, I'm not knocking on these other programs
no.
because they're
It's teach
phenomenal.
their own. And like, they serve a purpose and they serve a large portion of the community. And like, they're amazing at what they do. But like you, I was like, that's going to take me way too long. Like,
Yeah,
or where the fuck am I going to do wall balls? Or I can't do double unders inside. Or I can't do this. Or I don't have that. Or I like it's going to take me way too long to get warmed up to do that. And then I'll be running out the pull up bar outside or whatever. Um, and then I started seeing your workouts going up, and I was like, do you know what? Actually, I actually probably would be able to do that workout, and it actually would take no length at all. And then a real game changer was you put up a thing. So I've been doing dad hours since like February.
yeah. When it started, basically, right?
Yeah. Um, but the way I did it was like dipping in and out. So I do something, I do one of the Metcons twice a week. Not the
Mm.
same one, obviously, but like, that kind of way. Or I do a couple of cardios. And I
Yep.
was doing my own strength. But now you've restarted your strength cycle. So I'm just jumping in on that. But then a game changer was, I saw you put up something on your story, and it was like, it was a post maybe, and you're like, I do my strength after I do my Metcon or my cardio because I'm warmed up. And I was like,
Yep.
oh my fucking God, that this changes everything. So
Yep.
now what I've started doing is I'll go through the week and I look at like, I don't know, like in theory, I'm sure you're like, oh my God, he's ruining my masterpiece of my 7 days. But I'd be like, I'll go through and I'd be like, Tuesday, I'm like, no, that's going to take too long. Like Wednesday, no, there's too much stuff in that. Thursday, oh yeah, that's just machine. It's just going to take about 16 minutes. Perfect. And I'll do that. And then I'll do Monday strength. And then I
Yep.
might look, like that kind of way.
No, and what you're doing there is actually, sorry to interrupt, and I won't go off too long on a tangent, but what you're doing is exactly what I want people to do. One of the hallmarks of the program is the flexibility of it, and my goal is to get people like me to realize that you don't have much time, but you can use your time effectively, and you can stay really fit, and you can and if that means taking we provide essentially a template. We're like, here's what you should do in a perfect world, but nobody's world is perfect. So chop and change and mix and match and pull things out and do whatever you want. Here's the base. You make it fit your life, and so what you're doing is perfect.
But I think there are good things that I like about it. I hate just the workouts, but like that's just
Me too.
But I think so. You've got different tracks. So you've got like your alpha, fucking
Bravo and
what's the other one?
Charlie. So yeah,
Bravo
we
Charlie.
offer.
Yeah, I
Obviously,
couldn't
we've
remember
got
Bravo
the three tracks, and they're kind of built around equipment.
equipment.
So
Yeah,
what you have access to. So, for example, I'm pretty lucky in the sense that my garage is pretty much a fully kitted out CrossFit gym. I have everything minus a rope to climb. So, and maybe a little bit. I don't have a huge amount of space to say do handstand walking or something. But hey, I'm not too concerned about missing that stuff unless I'm competing, in which case I'll find an alternative. But and then we've got the Bravo track, which is like, maybe someone's invested a little bit in their home setup and they've got a barbell and a pull-up bar and a wall ball and a box and a couple of pairs of dumbbells and kettlebells, and then, they've got a pretty good setup, but maybe they're missing some machines or whatever. And then we've got Charlie, which is literally like I work out on my balcony or in my living room with a pair of dumbbells. And we basically structure each day so that those three workouts are as similar to one another as possible, and they're interchangeable. So like, for example, if I do alpha at home, but I go on a weekend holiday and I take my dumbbells with me, I follow the Charlie track and I'm still basically getting the same stimulus. That's kind of how they sort of marry in together.
But like and like there is a thing of, CrossFit is infinitely scalable, and if you're clever enough, you can find substitute. Like, okay, if you go to the gym and you see muscle ups on the board, it's easy to be like, oh fuck's sake, I can't do muscle ups. But like, if you want to, you can find a substitute, you can find a scale, and it's the same with any program really. But I think the fact that it's done for you is like, that's something that really works well for me, where I can come down in the morning and be like, oh, like barbell thrusters are not going to work because I know I'll drop it, and I'll make a noise, or I don't have enough space if I'm doing the barbell thrusters and this other thing. So I'll substitute, I'll scroll down and be like, oh, well, in Charlie doing that, I'll just do that instead. And I'll do the rest of alpha, or I'll do the first, thing in this and then swap, whatever. So I think that's really good. And also the equipment, like you say that, like if you have full equipment, the only thing I've ever been caught out by is the pull-up bar. So that's the only time where I've been like, oh, I'd have to wheel everything outside or run in and out. So I just won't do the alpha today because it's got pull-ups in it. Or I'll wait and try and squeeze it in the evening. That's the only time. So like even the equipment, like I have a 22.5 kg dumbbell, which I must show you actually, because it's so shit. So it's got like, you can see that's all duct tape.
Yep, nice.
So I bought this online, right, off someone, and it was
You bought it like that?
yeah, I got it delivered, right, like DPD or whatever.
Yeah.
This is the side that was photographed, and it was like, but it was like, look, can you see the little marks on it? It was like small superficial damage or something was written on it, and I was like, all right, that's grand. Then
That's
it
good.
arrived, and I took it out, and I was like, why is he wrapped the top? I was like, oh no, he hasn't. It's exposed, like the rubber's gone off it, and that's why I was fucking raging.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, that's shit. That was a shit
So
move.
if anyone wants to send me a second or a pair, but yeah, so I do all the like the dumbbell stuff with the 15s, and it's fucking hell, it's enough. But I think my favorite thing about it is that like, and again, when I was like, say during lockdown, when the gyms are online and stuff, and again, like Joe that owns the gym I go to is a fantastic programmer, and nothing against anything he does, but like he also doesn't have kids or doesn't have the experience of knowing what it's like to say this workout will take you 45 minutes. And it's like, yeah, and like getting all the shit out and warming up and tidying all the shit away. And then my kid starts crying halfway through, or the door opens and I need to stop, or I can't do that because my kid is in the room with me while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that you're in the same or a similar position to me makes it so much more approachable. And I think that's why I won't shut the fuck up about it. Where, and like, I've gotten a good few messages off people saying like, oh, is it actually is just because you're friends with Brandon? Is that what? And it's like, no, it genuinely is really good. And then they're signing up for it. And then I'm seeing them in the members group and I'm getting messages from them afterwards saying like that I was right or whatever.
You're being good. I'm going to have to start paying you a commission soon. But no, but like it's to quickly elaborate on that point. You know, it's I've found for me, and going back to talking about like those 60-minute programs, like I'm like, oh, this will be good. I'll have a look at this, and there's like, all right, cool. I've got snatch percentages, and then I've got some accessory work, and then I've got 2 metcons and some bodybuilding and a bit of core work, and I'm like, that's a whole day of training. Like I can't do that. Like when in my experience, it's been like, and I've done it a million times. I go to my wife, I'm like, hey, I'm just going to squeeze a quick workout in. It's a 15-minute workout. It won't take long. And why did it take you 45 minutes to come up? Like, because I had to get down there. I had to put the music on, put my shoes on, put my knee sleeves on, a little bit of warm up, get the gear out, set it up, start the workout, pack everything up, shut the garage door and come back in. And so that 15-minute workout took 45 minutes. And, and that's kind of how it goes, right? Like so I found for me, it was like, all right, what's the magic? In my household, at least, I'm like, all right, how long can I have without pissing off my wife? Because we're really busy and I need to squeeze a workout in. And it's that guilt factor again, right? Like, it's like, all right, I need to do this, but I also am very conscious of the fact that I'm chewing into important family time. We got stuff on, my wife's cooking dinner and she's been working all day or whatever. And to top that, my gym right beside it, like as I'm looking out at sort of 45 degrees right now, is my son's sort of playroom where he plays. And so I would often be training back when I was doing a full training load, and I'd be working out in the gym and he's like at the window going, "Daddy, play with me." I'm like, oh fuck. Like I'm like, and that was sort of like pulling at me as well, and he still does that. And so like I'm like, all right, what's the magic number? Like so I kind of, everything's built in sort of these, what I found, at least from my experience and what's working really well for people like yourself and others, is like 20 minutes is the magic number. All right. Like roughly. Now we go outside of that sometimes, but I'm like, if you can go 20 minutes of exercise that requires not too much warm up, that requires minimal setup and pack up. So let's say you've got 20 minutes to work out, but you've got about 10 minutes of fluff on either side. That's 30 minutes, right? So you can get in, warm up, hit the workout, and you can be back upstairs in 30 minutes. That to me is a very achievable and reasonable amount of time for people to be able to train whilst not having too much of an impact on all that other stuff, that family time. So everything we do is loosely built around those 20-minute blocks. So as you know, we've got multiple programming streams. Within those programming streams, everything's kind of around the 20-minute mark. If you choose to do a cardio club workout, most of the time it's, we stretch out past it every now and then, and I'll be like, hey, heads up, this is going to probably take 30 to 35 minutes. It's a little bit longer. We're doing some longer intervals with some rest. Or most metcons are built in to be around 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes tops. And often I'll be like, put a time cap on it of 20 minutes. Or, you'll know from reading the program, it'll be like, this is the workout. It took me 15 minutes. I don't want it to take you 45 minutes. Here's what you should be aiming for. This movement, these sandbag over shoulder should only take you a minute at a time. So if 8 reps is too many. You should do 5 or 6. Like there's a lot of that in there. The strength work is always, 5 sets of 3 of a squat. I want you hitting a set every 3 minutes. Couple of warm up sets. Do it post workout so that you don't have to spend half an hour of mobility beforehand. All of those air squats and dumbbell snatches you did earlier have got you primed and ready. Like so. And then we've sort of built the program in a way that you can take these 20-minute blocks and you can just layer them on top of one another. So like, cool, it's Saturday. I've got an hour today. I'm going to do 3 things. I'm going to do the workout and some strength work, and I'm going to catch up on a cardio club workout from earlier in the week, or I'm going to do a bit of bodybuilding, and so everything's sort of built in these nice little 20-minute blocks. And then you can space them out. You can chop and change. You're like, oh, I really like that dad bod bodybuilding workout from earlier in the week. I'm going to pinch that and I'm going to put it on top of this workout because I've actually got 30 or 40 minutes. You hit a workout in the morning and you just got an itch to do something more, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to quickly, I've got 20 minutes. I'll quickly duck down and do that dad bod workout. I'll do that cardio club workout while my son's in the bath or whatever it may be. So obviously
we can drown.
Obviously my wife
while supervised. I'll just do this. I'll just do this workout quickly while my son's lying face down in the bath. He seems quiet and happy.
Every time I come on here, it somehow gets related to drowning children.
Yeah.
I don't understand why.
Every time.
But yeah, that's how the program kind of works, and it's built around real experience of like I want to get all these things, and I want to get my time, and I want to train hard, but I have my wife to think about, and my son to think about, and my job to think about, and insert XYZ here. And that's the whole point of the program, is like, and the whole reason why we recommend for someone like yourself, I give you the template each week of like, if you wanted this, how I structure it in my head is like, let's say you wanted to follow the program and you wanted to do everything. Yeah. Every single program, every single day. In which case, if you're doing that, you probably could qualify for semifinals, in my opinion. There's a lot of
your experience.
A lot of stuff in my experience. There's enough there that like if someone wanted like a full training load, it's there. And that's sort of like what I do in terms of structuring the week is, all right, if I took someone who wants to do every single piece of the program, which even I don't, but I try to do most of it, how would I structure that? And that's kind of how I write out the week. But then I recommend, like, this is simply like a template for if you were to do that. I want you to take this and I want you to chop and change as much as you need to. Mix and match and chop and change and swap things from workouts, or do whatever you can, because at the end of the day, it's more important to me that you are doing something and you are, you're getting some workout in and some you time. That's more important than following this workout or this program to the letter. And that's kind of how we do things.
But it is, and I think the effort is appreciated on my end anyway, where, like I said, there was a workout a few weeks ago, and I can't remember what it was. There was sandbags over shoulder and something else, calories, sandbags over shoulder, and something burpees maybe, or something. And it was an EMOM. And I remember halfway through the workout, I fell off the EMOM pace, and I was like, uh-oh. And then I remembered reading in the coaching notes, just do it as an AMRAP till 8 or till 9 or whatever, until, like, keep going as an AMRAP or whatever. So like, it's, I think the coaching notes are good because, like, for stuff like that, but also say it wasn't in the coaching notes for, there was one, that bench one that was a fucking shit show. It was like calories bench, calories burpees.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was a shit show. Because I've only one dumbbell. So I was like, I'll do bench, like, with the bar. And I was like, 50 kilos would be fine. And then after I did the first set of 50, I was like, hang on, 222s doesn't add up to 50. Why am I doing 50? But I was like, fuck it, I've committed. But yeah, that was a shit show. But it, like, say it wasn't written in that one, but I remembered it from the previous week. So then I just was like, I'll just keep going as an AMRAP or whatever. And then other things, like, I remember there was a few times where I looked at a workout, and on paper I was like, no, like, that's gonna take me fucking ages, like, that's gonna take way too long. But then, like, scrolling down, it was like, this should take you about 9 minutes, don't let it take more longer than 11 or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, I've obviously totally misjudged how long that takes someone to do that movement or whatever. So yeah, the coaching notes, and they're always really fucking detailed as well. Like, it must take you ages to do. There's paragraphs on each of the things. But we mentioned there that in your experience, you've qualified an athlete for semi-final. So you qualified for Torian doing this. So you finished inside the cut line for the Open, and then
Yeah.
what were
I
you?
actually had a better result. Actually, I'll tell a lie. I had the same result as last year, but exclusively doing dad hours. So this year, all I've done is dad hours, and then obviously got through the Open, and then um, I wasn't going to do the quarterfinals um, because I wasn't doing touring. I knew I wasn't doing touring, so I was like, what's the point? And then like the Wednesday before, like literally the day before the workouts came out, was it, or 2 days before? So over here, the workouts get released on the Friday morning, and then you've obviously got that sort of 3 day period where you've got to do the workouts. And so the Wednesday of that week, Kelly was just like, "Why don't you just do it?" And I already had like 1 foot in the boat. I'm like, "All right, fine, I'll do it." Like,
If you insist.
if you insist, didn't take much persuasion. And then, but yeah, I was like, I'll do it. And then you know, I didn't have, the Friday was a full day at recruits course, obviously. And so they do this thing now with the quarterfinals where you've got to do workout 1 and 2 by this time, and then you've got to post the videos. And so I didn't even get into the gym till 7 o'clock at night. And I just did the workouts back to back. Like I literally did one. I think I swapped them because there was like the muscle ups and GHDs and pistols was one of them. And I hadn't done a pistol squat since fucking, I don't know,
Torian.
yeah, pretty much. And then we had like a handstand push-up lunge one. I was like, all right. I was like looking at those, and like the lunge handstand push-up was the first workout. I was like, I'll swap them because I know, the muscle ups aren't going to feel too good after all those handstand push-ups, which is a great call, by the way. But I did, I warmed up quickly. It was kind of like, oh, fuck, it's 7 o'clock at night. I'm like, crack, let's go. And I sort of got into it, did the first workout, rested for about 20 minutes, and then did the second one. And got out of the gym at like 9 o'clock at night or whatever by the time we packed up and cleaned up. And I was like, oh, well, loaded the videos into YouTube and sent them away, and then come back the next day and, did the other workouts, and it just was pretty relaxed about the whole thing because I knew I wasn't competing at Torium, but I was like, this will just be a good opportunity to sort of see where I'm at. I was looking after an athlete who competed at Torium this year, so I did a couple of the workouts with her. So it was kind of just a whole fun thing. I was talking to people through the workouts, like it was my mate who sort of helps me with a lot of things was there, and I was sort of joking around with him mid workouts and stuff, and I ended up getting the same result as last year, which I came 6th in the quarterfinals over here, which was the same result as last year, but the difference between the two was night and day. Like I got 6th last year with a whole lot of stress and a whole lot of time and effort put into it, and then I got the same result this year, and it was a complete piss take. And maybe that was just, maybe being relaxed was a good thing, but what it proved to me, however, was that I haven't lost any fitness. Like it's a lot of my workouts are more simplified at the moment. Yesterday, my workout was 5 rounds of 20 calories on the ski erg and 10 devil's press, which you can expect to come in the program this week.
Great.
Have fun with that. But like it was a 5-round workout. It took me about, I think, just over 10 minutes. But I warmed up quickly and I just put as much effort into it as possible, and I worked my ass off, and it was really hard. And that was it. And that's kind of how my days look at the moment. But as many people will come to find, simplicity is one of the easiest gateways to fitness because it's the intensity is higher. There's nothing you can hide behind. It's not like, oh, I need to rest for 30 seconds because I got to jump on the rings and do a set of 10 muscle ups. Like, not with devil's press and machines. You don't. You just go. And it's I'm doing a lot of that at the moment. So I'm still sprinkling in some of those skills to maintain them. And it seems to be working pretty well. I tested all the Torium Pro workouts this year. Some of them tested multiple times, and my times would have held up pretty nicely, which is cool. It's very gratifying to know that not only is the programming that I'm putting out there beneficial for people that are very time poor, and simple enough that it's accessible for a lot of people, but it still holds up to keeping people pretty damn fit as well. And I'm proof of that, which is awesome. So yes, I had a massive base of fitness going into starting this program. I didn't just start from scratch, and I don't try to hide that, but I'm not getting less fit. So it's not like I'm less fit than I was last year because I'm on a simple program like Dad Hours. In many areas, I think I'm even a little bit fitter. There's some things where right now I don't think I could snatch 130 kilos right now because I haven't been Olympic lifting that much because I don't want to drop barbells in the morning. I could probably still snatch 115 to 120 very comfortably, but like my top end strength probably isn't there right now. And that's okay. I accept that because of the work that I'm putting in. But I could get that back pretty easily with some effort and dedication. And when I'm on shift and I can lift weights at a reasonable hour, I can probably get back to that pretty quickly. But my fitness is through the roof. So yeah, when it comes to having all the skills of being one of the best athletes in the world, right now I don't have all that, but for the things I can dedicate myself to, it's proving that it still works really, really well. So doing the quarterfinals and having tested the Torian Pro workouts and giving myself evidence that this program is not only efficient but also really effective has been really gratifying.
Do you find it scary looking at, say, the Torian or just any of the semifinals? Like, do you look at them and think like, fuck, like athletes have come on so much? Like, I remember I saw you commenting on that Darren Ellis post where he's wearing the fucking gas mask doing like sectionals or whatever. And like the sport has come on a lot since then, obviously.
Incredibly.
But like, even in the last few years, just the strength numbers are through the roof for all records. And I don't really count that rope climb one because it's not the same workout from regionals.
No, it's not. It's not the same workout at all.
Yeah, but like just average workouts. Like you look at how long it takes people to do. Like there's workouts now with 40 calories on the Echo bike, and people are doing them faster than they would have done 20 calories in the assault bike 4 or 5 years ago. Do you know? It's just like all that stuff is going through the roof. Like, do you look at that now and think like, oh, thank God I'm not. Like, thank God that isn't my focus.
Yeah. Short answer, yes. No, it is. It's incredible. The standard just keeps rising. Especially like I think in the world in terms of like looking at like more of a broader view. For the longest time, I didn't feel like anyone was ever going to catch up to American athletes, but now the standard around the world is starting to really lift. Like in our obviously I can speak for Oceania and our region down here, but the quality of athletes coming through, and obviously the quality of athletes leading the charge. If you look at the top three guys here, Jay Crouch, Ricky Garrard, Baden Brown, phenomenal athletes in terms of what they are achieving across a wide range of skills and modalities. But also the amount of work that those boys are putting in to achieve that is huge. It's
obviously different for them, say, than it was for you. Like we said, Jay is in like his third year, we'll say, of hugely competitive training where he didn't he go team or something a few 3 years ago or
so
something.
Jay came through as a teenager under Rob Forte, who, like, speaking from experience, like if you wanted anyone to be your mentor, Rob's the guy. Like he's done it all, and phenomenal brain when it comes to building athletes. So he came through under Rob, very young age, and then went team with Rob, and then
Yeah.
sort of just like gone individual and never looked back.
Well,
And
like,
so,
say he's grown up in a period of time, or he's evolved in the sport, and I suppose Ricky's rebirth is going to be similar, and
mm,
like, you know, Baden's probably an outlier, you know, and like Tia and Cara kind of have crossed. Well, Tia is an anomaly, I think, and Cara is an anomaly because she just has such a business brain, apparently. But like people like Jay, who like, do you ever begrudge the opportunities that they have? Like, because it's a lot more of a fruitful environment now. For, I say, if you compare when you started, you really had to fucking graft hard to get like free shoes, or you know what I mean? Whereas like now you
yeah.
can be like, oh, I want you to pay for my flights to Madison or whatever. Like, it's a lot. Obviously you still have to be really good, but it's a lot easier when you are good to make certain demands, and there's a lot more opportunities, and there's a lot more sponsors, and there's a lot more brands in the space. Like, do you ever think of like, oh fuck, if I was starting like 2 years ago compared to 36 years ago, like do you ever think of it that way?
Uh, no, not really. I mean, like, yeah, it's just it's a different time. I'm one of the few, right? Like, it's in terms of and there's people out there that have got much more sponsorship and things like that than me, but there's also a shitload of people that have gotten a lot less than me. So
Mm,
I every day thank my lucky stars, because I've had an unbelievable. I always the way I kind of talk to people now. I talk to a lot of people like on the fire recruits course and stuff. Is like I describe it as like it was an amazing way to spend my 20s. Like, what an incredible way to spend my entire 20s. Pretty much just like I got to um, work out for a living, travel around the world, you know, get free shit. I got a lot of that, which is in a nutshell, which is really cool. Yes, I had to work my ass off for it, and I still am. But I never look at it and be like, oh fuck, I wish I was 20 now and not in 1986. Because, well, here's the thing. I had to work my ass off for that stuff, but at the same time, you know, fuck Jay, Ricky, Baden, those guys are working really, really, really fucking hard now too, because it is like Jay had to quit his job. Jay was, I think, an electrician.
yeah,
And he had to quit his job for him to become, the fittest guy in the country, he had to give up everything, to do that. And whilst I kind of had to do the same earlier on, it would be more of a commitment now than back then. And
yeah,
let me tell you, as an athlete that's gone through it and had all the sponsorships, and I'm kind of on the other side now where I'm content not having any. Like, I've got a few sponsors still, and it's great, and I really appreciate them. But I'm at the other point now where I just love being a part of the community, and I'm really appreciative and grateful for the fact that I'm still sort of in it to a degree. Like, I can still
yeah,
compete, and like I'm not gunning for a game spot now, and I appreciate the fact that if I wanted to do that, I would have to upend my life and give up all the good stuff, family time, etc., to dedicate to that, which I'm not willing to do. But I've of equity and reputation and a decent fitness level, I can still compete, maybe top 10 at the Tour and Pro, and be a part of this community, and still get to sort of live that athlete lifestyle a little bit. And I'm really grateful for that. But I don't ever look at it as if I should, or I'm upset that I don't have the opportunities these guys have now, because those opportunities only come about because of the work that they're putting in, and the work that
mm,
they have to put in now is exponentially higher than the work I put in 10 years ago.
yeah,
So to get the same thing, and what I was getting at previously with having sponsors and appreciating them is, like, free shoes are cool for a little bit, and then like you've still got to do all the burpees and all the lifting and all the like sweat and grind, and for me, it would be getting up at 4 a.m. and training for 6 hours a day. Like, you've still got to do all that. And at the end of the day, you look at them and you put your shoes on, and, they're nice when they come out of the package. And then after a week, they're just a pair of shoes. So, and I don't want that to come across as like me not grateful for anyone that sent me a pair of shoes before. But it doesn't really cut the mustard when it comes to putting the work in. You've got to have a deeper meaning to why you do this, because all that stuff comes and goes pretty quick, and it doesn't help you get through the hard shit. That's for sure.
Do you think we better finish up, I suppose? But do you think that
We're doing well.
hypothetically, if you just had like loads of time, so I don't know, your firefighting moves online, you just have lots of time somehow. If someone came to you at like 18 who just had an average life and was like, didn't have any major surgeries or injuries or anything, didn't have, they were like fairly strong mentally, they were just fine, like normal person. And they came to you and said, I want to go to the CrossFit Games and I'll do whatever you tell me to do for the next 4 years. Do you think that anyone could, like, if they dedicate everything, or do you think that it's people who are predisposed to or have it in them innate to go to places that other people won't, or who have an advantage of they did gymnastics or they did weightlifting or they did both or they did track or they did whatever? Like, do you think, or DNA just is different? Do you think that just a randomer could say, I want to do it, and then have someone like you or Rob or Matt or whoever take them on and say, just do exactly what I tell you to do for the next 3 years and I'll get you there? Or do you think that now we're at a point where, because everyone is so much better and because the standard is so much higher, that you now have to have whatever prior experience or something different in your makeup?
Yeah, oh man, that question could be another 90-minute podcast all by itself, easily. I'll try and keep it brief somewhat. I do think we now live in an age where it certainly will assist you having prior experience, good DNA, or I think everything above that you listed, I think, is going to help you. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there are people who are not better conditioned and better built for this sport than others, because there are people that are, simple as that, when it comes to genetic makeup and all that sort of stuff. I also think that if you have an athletic background, particularly certain sports, it will serve you really well. And do I think that if I took two 18-year-olds of the same age, size, etc., and you give me two of them, and they're both going to give me the same amount of effort, and they're going to show up every day to the gym, and they're going to train really hard, and this one has 10 years of high level sporting experience, and this one did nothing. If they work the same way and they have the same graft and the same drive, the guy with the athletic experience is probably going to pit the other guy. Like, that's just the way it's going to work. However, I also do not want it to come across that it cannot be done. Because, speaking from my own experience, I was never a phenomenal athlete myself. If you put in the yearbook most likely to become a professional athlete, it was not me. I love sport. I was always very competitive. I've always been extremely driven. I've always been the kind of guy that wanted to give the very best of myself to every single thing that I did. Whether it was being a student, whether it was dumb shit in school. Like, if we we did Japanese and French and stuff in primary school, and we would always do these title pages, which was like this competition where you'd do a little page of that country or whatever. And I always wanted to win. Like, I always put hours and hours into these title pages and just make it perfect. And I would be gutted if I didn't. And so I've always been driven to be the best at anything. But was I a phenomenal athlete? No. Was I a peak physical specimen when I was younger? Certainly not. I was an overweight kid up until 15. But I had that graft and that drive and that determination. And what happened was that all of the other natural athletes that I grew up with either tried to rely on their natural athleticism and then realized how fucking hard it is to become a professional athlete and gave up pretty quickly. And I just never really had the dream of becoming a professional athlete, but I worked my ass off and I took that same approach that I took to everything in my life, and eventually it paid off. And so if I can do that, then if an 18-year-old comes to me with that same like-mindedness and they want to go to the games, I'm who am I to say that it can't be done? You
There's
know?
your new tagline for dad hours. HGEPO. Hard graft eventually pays off.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna
It needs some
I'm
work.
gonna
Workshop needs some work. Are you
keep
gonna
going.
be are you gonna be allowed to grow your beard back now that you've qualified and you're
Look, I would hope so. I wish I could, but no. So this is me now for the next 30 years, unfortunately. So
what's the
with
logic
the
behind it?
hey,
What's the logic behind not having a mask? Surely you just get burnt off in the first fire you go to anyway.
two things. One is professionalism. It's there is that sort of old school professionalism of the profession. You are allowed to have a mustache,
Would you do
but
that?
I'm allowed to have a mustache at work. I'm just not allowed to have a mustache at home.
Okay. So you'd have to either
But
buy a plaster to cover it at home or a fake mustache that you only wear at work.
yeah. But the other thing is the breathing apparatus is a big one for safety. So you've got to be able to
Oh yeah.
create an airtight seal on your face. Otherwise, obviously,
Why don't you measure your mask, right? And
and
like
fit
draw
my beard,
lines and just shave
and I'll
inside the
shave.
lines of the mask.
I have these really weird lines that, yeah, I
Yeah,
could do
just
that.
have a perfect like
Just have some
it's like a
cheek
gas
facial.
mask, but it's a beard.
Yeah, no,
Um,
unfortunately, I have to go clean shaven now. So I'm working on the mustache thing. I'm thinking I'm going to lead into it with Movember because it's
oh
a
yeah.
big thing. Iris over here is Movember, so I'm gonna tell my wife, it's for Movember, and then I'm just never gonna shave it off.
What you should
So
do is for Movember, do like a Hitler mustache. So then when Movember is over, like anything will be better than that. Like she'll
that's true.
take handlebars over the Hitler mustache or the Charlie Chaplin.
I think
Um,
that's gonna be the route I have to take. I was like, but remember the Hitler mustache.
yeah. Remember
There we go.
Adolf? Hmm? Do we really want to go back to that? Because that's the only alternative. Um, Look, thanks again for coming on. It's been great getting to catch up. Obviously we've talked a lot since you were last on, but it's great getting to chat in a long form. I think everything you're doing with Dad Hours is fantastic, and watching it grow is like I have a weird sense of pride in what you're doing. I think because I think I was I was kind of in on the ground floor, so I got to see that it was like, oh, I'm thinking of starting this thing, and then like seeing what it's become is remarkable, especially in such a short space of time. But I think it speaks to your well, a lot of things. I think your charisma and your likability, and then also just your knowledge and your empathy towards others. That you're like, this is fucking hard, and I bet it's hard for other people. And I think a lot of people maybe aren't as quick to get there as you are. So, thanks for the programming. Even though I never say it during a workout, I'll say it now. Um,
I appreciate that. Thank you.